Good morning. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Seiko 5 Sports SRPE53K1. I bought this watch from amazon.co.uk for £237. So firstly, let's look at the watch box that this Seiko 5 Sports comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with the piece. So the SRPE53K1 comes in this matte black outer cardboard watch box, which is branded with the Seiko brand logo on the front in silver, as you can see. Son removes the outer watch box, and inside sits the inner watch box, which is also made from cardboard. Seiko have chosen a galvanized steel silver finish to the exterior of the watch box, and on the lid it's branded with the Seiko brand logo and the new Seiko 5 Sports logo. Swan removes the lid, and inside the watch is protected in shipping by a piece of foam, and the watch itself sits on a padded pillow cushion, as one would expect. The padded pillow cushion is fully upholstered with fabric, and it does suffice in preventing the watch sliding around inside the watch box in shipping. Now, the first thing I'm going to say is I think Seiko deserve due criticism for using these poor quality throwaway cardboard watch boxes. At £237, really I would expect to see a higher quality watch box made from plastic, the kind of watch box one would keep. And I think it's a disappointment, and I think it's something that Seiko really need to update, because at £237 one is going to expect something better than a cardboard watch box. With regards to the other items one gets with the watch, one also gets this very comprehensive Seiko instructions booklet. The booklet is translated into multiple foreign languages, and it has plenty of diagrams which detail the various crown setting positions for setting the day-date complication, and also adjusting the time and the hand winding and hacking complications to the movement. So very useful read if you're unfamiliar with automatic movements such as the 4R36 used in this watch. Lastly, one also gets this Seiko European Guarantee and Instructions booklet. Again, it's translated into multiple foreign languages, and it details the terms and conditions of the international guarantee. So I'm pleased to report that this watch comes with a 12-month international guarantee, and on the last page of the guarantee booklet one has the warranty card. So as you can see, it says Certificate of Guarantee, and on the reverse it is filled in with the date of purchase, the reference number of the piece including the movement 4R36, and it's also stamped, and in this case it has a sticker for the Seiko authorized dealer. So during the 12-month period, if your watch develops a fault, you simply present this Certificate of Guarantee at any Seiko authorized dealer, and that will cover the expense of the repair or the replacement of your watch. So, with regards to this watch, this is the SRPE53K1, and this series of Seiko 5 Sports have become known as the Seiko 5KX due to the similarity of this watch to the Seiko SKX 007 and 009 respectively, with the crown at the 4 o'clock position and the similar case shape to the SKX. So I'm going to refer to it as the 5KX for the purposes of this review. With regards to the dimensions, it's a 40mm case. It has a 44mm lug-to-lug measurement, it has a 12mm thickness, and it has a lug width of 20mm. So the first thing I want to talk about are the reduced proportions of this SRPE53K1. Yes, it does look very similar to the 5KX that I previously reviewed on my channel, but you'll note that the case, although it looks very similar to the SKX case and the 5KX case, it's actually slightly smaller in dimensions. 40mm diameter is smaller than the 42mm diameter of the 5KX. The other notable difference is the lug width. On the Seiko 5KX it has a 22mm lug width, but on this piece it's reduced down to 20. The other notable difference is the 44mm lug width, which again is reduced. So I would say to you that this Seiko 5KX really is a suitable version of the watch if you are a collector with a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches. The SKX 007 and also the Seiko 5KX with a dive bezel, they really are suitable for larger wrists because of the 42mm case, and I would say that they're more suitable for a 7 to 8 inch wrist. So this watch really is made to suit collectors with a smaller 6 to 7 inch wrist due to those scaled down proportions, and I think they've done a very good job of it, because the 20mm bracelet balances the 40mm case. It's a very well proportioned piece. The other thing I like about it is they've also scaled down the hands. Now if you look closely at the hands, they are the same shape as the SKX 007, and they're also the same shape as the Seiko 5KX. but they've actually reduced the proportions of the hands because the dial is slightly smaller and also to fit within the smaller 40mm case. And I think they've got the proportions of the hands just right. I think they really do balance the applied indices, and it's just a very well thought out hand design with those proportions. Day-date complication, as you can see, the date window at 3 o'clock isn't framed. I like the fact that the dial isn't over branded with text or specification. It simply has the Seiko brand logo applied at 12 o'clock with the new Seiko 5 branding, which replaces the Seiko 5 shield, and at the 6 o'clock position it simply says automatic in silver. So I like it. It's clearly legible, functional, there's good symmetry to the dial. I also like the applied indices rather than using printed indices that the SKX 007 used, for example. Nice deep navy blue sunburst dial, which adds interest to the dial. When one tilts the watch in the light, the sunburst dial changes from a very deep navy blue to a lighter, more electric blue tone. The index chapter ring, which is dark navy blue, also complements the sunburst dial because the chapter ring indexing are done in silver. So very nice job. I think Seiko deserve full credit for producing a credible upgrade in dial design to the SKX 007. I like the use of applied indices which are infilled with Lume Bright. So with regards to the rest of the specification, solid stainless steel push-pull crown which is coin edge finish. The crown is unsigned, and some collectors will dislike this. It's often the case that purist Seiko collectors like to see an S Seiko signed crown. Personally, I don't find it to be a problem. I like the concentric brushed satin finish to the cap of the crown. Now, it's a push-pull crown, and this has become divisive because some Seiko collectors dislike the fact that the SKX 007 had a screw-down crown, which gave it an effective hermetic seal to 200 meters, but the Seiko 5KX series only has a push-pull crown, which provides an inferior 100 meters of water resistance. So, yes, it does have hand winding and hacking. The crown is an absolute pleasure to operate, but bear in mind that it's only a push-pull crown, so it's not as good as a screw-down crown with regards to its water resistance. Another notable difference between the 5KX and the SKX 007 respectively is on the Seiko 5 Sports series like this one, we have a screw down exhibition caseback. So the screw down exhibition caseback is stainless steel which is mirror polished to a flawless finish. The centre section is glazed with mineral crystal. So yes, it's nice to see the movement through the exhibition caseback. It's a nice feature of the watch which adds interest. The negative is that the screw-down exhibition caseback only provides an effective hermetic seal to 100 meters of water resistance. On the SKX 007 and SKX 009, they had a solid stainless steel caseback which provided a superior effective hermetic seal to 200 meters of water resistance. Now, I personally find this mineral crystal glazed exhibition caseback to be more comfortable on the wrist because it's perfectly flat and smooth. It feels very smooth and comfortable to wear the watch on the wrist for long periods of time. With an SKX 007, the centre section of that stainless steel caseback had an embossed wave of Hiragawa. Now, that wave of Hiragawa is often erroneously referred to as a tsunami wave due to the similarity, but the actual correct name of the wave is the Seiko wave of Hiragawa. Now, the problem with the embossed wave of Hiragawa is it felt irritating because it was embossed, it was proud, and it rubbed against the skin. So I would actually argue that the exhibition caseback is more comfortable than the Seiko SKX 007 caseback with that wave of Hiragawa embossing. Now, with regards to the bracelet, this is a negative of the watch. Oyster style bracelet, 20mm, it's parallel, it doesn't taper down to the clasp. I like the 20mm lug width, but however, a cost-cutting measure is the use of hollow folded end links rather than solid end links. At £237, which is the price point of this watch, I think it's wholly unacceptable for Seiko still to be using hollow folded end links. Yes, they were acceptable in 1996 when the SKX 007 was produced. This is 2020 and therefore they are now outdated, and I think that they need upgrading to solid stainless steel end links. The quality of the brushed satin finish on the outer section of the bracelet is very aesthetically pleasing. It's got a nice sheen to it, as you can see, 316L grade stainless steel. But however, I dislike the construction because if I tilt it in the light, you can see a seam running down the centre of each of the flanks of the oyster style links, and that's because Seiko manufacture the bracelet by pressing together two halves, two half links pressed together and welded together to give one solid link. I personally think it was a mistake doing that. They should have just used one solid link and drilled a hole in it for the pin. But what they do is, as a cost-cutting measure, is they press together two halves of a link to make one solid link. And I really dislike the way the flanks, which are mirror polished, have that seam running down both sides of the bracelet, both flanks. You can see that characteristic seam where the links split. Now, another cost-cutting measure is the 2-button push flip lock clasp. Yes, it is functional, it does work. The flip lock has a nice tight click. It's signed with an engraved Seiko brand logo, which is aesthetically pleasing. 2-button push and a flip lock, as one would expect. But however, when one opens it, the interior is just pressed metal. It's not a solid stainless steel milled clasp. Now again, I'll refer to the price point. It's £237. Bear in mind that there are several Chinese brands such as Pagani Design and Bersiger, which are made by the same factory. They are producing homages to the Submariner with solid stainless steel milled clasps. They're copying the Rolex Glide Lock. And they're at £100 or less. So really at £237, I think that it's unacceptable that Seiko is still using pressed metal clasps. Yes, the interior is made from stainless steel. It's not nickel plated metal. But however, I just think it's very cheap looking and very light gauge metal. It really needs to be upgraded to a solid stainless steel milled clasp. So the hollow end links, as you can see, and also the pressed metal clasp are the main two negatives. And I would also add the negative of the fact they use two links pressed together to make one link. As you can see, the seam running down, that's another negative. So poor quality bracelet on a good quality watch. With regards to the rest of the specification, it is glazed with a Hardlex crystal. Now, Hardlex is more scratch resistant than mineral crystal. It's effectively coated mineral crystal. The coating makes it more scratch resistant. But however, it's not as hard and scratch resistant as sapphire crystal. The other negative of the use of Hardlex is there is no AR coating on the underside of the Hardlex. So as you can see, when I tilt the watch at an oblique angle, the Hardlex crystal is highly reflective due to that lack of anti-reflective coating. So that's something to bear in mind if you like watches to have AR coating. With regards to the heft of the piece, on the stainless steel bracelet it's 143 grams, and that's quite heavy for a 40mm case. So that's something to bear in mind. If you're a collector with a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches, this is a heavy watch because it's glazed with an exhibition caseback with mineral crystal, and that all adds weight to the watch. The use of an exhibition caseback, a solid stainless steel bracelet, and 143 grams might be uncomfortable if you're used to wearing lightweight watches. The applied indices are infilled with Lume, and also the hands are also lumed with Lume. So, 12-month warranty on the watch is very reassuring, but I would say to you that you really need to consider upgrading the bracelet to a strap code Super O Boya bracelet, which is an oyster style bracelet, but it has solid end links and also a solid stainless steel milled clasp. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now, I haven't sized the bracelet. I simply took the watch out of the watch box, and I'm pleased to report that it does indeed fit my 8-inch wrist, no problem at all. I can in fact fit my index finger underneath the bracelet, so I'm confident it would fit up to even an 8.5-inch wrist. So although I would say the 40mm scaled down case is best suited to a collector with a smaller wrist of 6 to 7 inches, I have an 8-inch wrist, and if you're a collector with a larger 7 to 8-inch wrist, this watch is also worthy of consideration because with a short 44mm lug-to-lug measurement, it does wrap around the wrist very well. One thing I really like about it is it's only 12mm thick due to that flat Hardlex crystal and the use of that flat smooth bezel. So it will easily fit underneath the shirt cuff if you wear business shirts, so it's an ideal daily wear piece. I do like the blue sunburst style, and I like the silver applied indices, which beautifully complements the SKX 007 style hands. They've done a very good job with the chapter ring, the dial, and also the applied indices, which are infilled with Lume. Very aesthetically pleasing, and I really like the way that the smooth bezel is mirror polished on the top, and then it has a brushed satin finish on the bevel, and then the side section of the bezel has a mirror polished section, so nice contrast between mirror polished and brushed satin finish. The quality of the case polishing on this 5KX is done to a very high standard, bearing in mind that it's a £237 watch. Mirror polished flanks to the case and the undercut, which is very nicely done. The tops of the lugs and the top of the case are brushed satin finish with radial brushing. I have to give credit where credit's due. The bezel, the case back and also the case itself are finished to perfection. Really, it's the kind of finishing one would expect to see on higher tier Seiko pieces, such as the Seiko Turtle, or in fact even higher tier pieces. Really, it's the kind of case polishing and finishing one would expect to see on a significantly more expensive Pro Spec Seiko watch rather than a Seiko 5, which is a low tier piece. So really, it's a good quality watch, but it's let down by the cheap quality and the cost-cutting measures of the bracelet. So I'll talk about the movement because that's another positive of the watch. This Seiko SRPE53K1 uses the Seiko 4R36. Now, the 4R36 has been used in several other Seiko watches over the years. It's also used in the Seiko Turtle, for example, the SRPE773. So it's a reliable, well-proven workhorse automatic movement. Now, in the SKX 007 and 009, they used the 7S26, which was, again, a reliable, well-proven workhorse movement. But however, the main disadvantage of the 7S26 is that it did not have hand winding and hacking. But I'm pleased to report that this 4R36, which is its successor, does have hand winding and hacking. So it's a 24 dual movement. It runs at the standard for Seiko movements, 21,600 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3 Hz. So good, solid, reliable movement. I like the fact it has hand winding and hacking, which are useful complications, and I also like the fact that the 4R36 uses Seiko's Etachron regulator, which means that the regulation is very accurate. It also uses Seiko's DiaShock system. So the DiaShock system protects the movement from shock damage, and that's very practical for a daily wear piece. So to get the 4R36 with an Etachron regulator and DiaShock shock resistance is very good at this price point. The other positive of this watch is that the 4R36 has a bi-directional rotor. So if you're wearing the watch on the wrist, it doesn't matter if the rotor rotates clockwise or anti-clockwise, it has the same winding effect. On other automatic movements such as the Miyota 9015, for example, the rotor is unidirectional. It will only wind the watch when it spins clockwise, so it's not as efficient. And I really like that aspect about the 4R36, the way the rotor can spin both clockwise and anti-clockwise, and it will top up the power reserve to 41 hours. Now, the other thing I like about it is the fact that one can also use the crown to manually wind the movement to top up the power reserve. With regards to the accuracy, it's stated as plus 45 seconds per day to minus 35 seconds per day, which is a very wide range. But however, I'm pleased to report that this one is running at plus 10 seconds per day, which is very good, bearing in mind the price point of the piece. Although Seiko state the 4R36 as being plus 45 to minus 35 seconds per day, in reality they generally come from the factory somewhere between plus or minus 15 seconds per day, and this one at plus 10 seconds per day is very good. So good, solid, reliable workhorse movement, hand winding and hacking, and also it benefits from the fact that it is a very reliable, accurate movement. So let's do a Lume test and we'll see how the Lume performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. Now, one thing I really like about Seiko watches, including this 5KX, is they always have outstanding Lume. I'm expecting the performance of this Lume Bright to be outstanding. It's something Seiko do very well, and I regard Seiko Lume Bright to be equal in quality to the very best of Swiss looms such as BGW9, Rolex Chromolite, or alternatively C1 Super Luminova. And as you can see, it has not disappointed. The Lume Bright is glowing very brightly both on the hands and also the applied indices. I like the way the counterbalance on the sweeping second hand is also loomed with Lume Bright, and it's glowing very brightly, but it's also continuing to glow for a good length of time. I really think that Seiko Lume Bright is equal in quality to Super Luminova, which is Swiss made, and I just think it's a credit to Seiko that they haven't cut any corners with regards to the performance of the Lume Bright, bearing in mind that this is a low tier piece. It's a Seiko 5KX rather than being one of their high tier Seiko Pro Specs pieces. So that's the good thing about the watch. You are getting the same quality Lume Bright as used on the very best Seiko watches. So lastly, I'll surmise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet two criteria. The the watch would be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So the price point of this watch is £237. Yes, I consider it to be excellent quality, but I can't say that it's excellent value. The reason for that is, at £237, it does have some serious cost-cutting measures, and the main one being the bracelet. Hollow end links, pressed metal clasp, and also those two link halves which are pressed together. Very poor quality bracelet on a very good quality watch, which is a major disappointment. So it's a difficult watch to appraise, it's a difficult watch to balance, to weigh up, because I really like the use of the 4R36, the Lume Bright is exceptional, the proportions are done to perfection, the build quality is outstanding, so I think it's a very well made watch. But however, one has to also factor in that one will need to either change it for a rubber strap, NATO strap, or a strap code Super O Boya Oyster style bracelet in order to enhance the piece. So that's something to consider. It's £237 for a very good quality, an excellent quality watch, but it just isn't excellent value. I would describe the value as acceptable, but not excellent. Overall, I'm going to say it is a good watch that I highly recommend to you for your consideration. I really like it, and I think that it is worth buying, even if you have to upgrade the bracelet to a strap code bracelet or change the bracelet to a rubber strap or a NATO strap. It's just a good looking watch. It's a perfect everyday daily wear piece. So I hope you've liked my review of this Seiko 5KX. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.